First major trade. Highly disappointed in this one. Y'all know me. You and Blake. Blake's not here, obviously, but y'all know me. Wizards fan. You were picking on me the other day about it. You were like, "Why?" I remember you randomly asked me, "Why are you a Wizards fan?" Right? And I explained the whole thing, and I pretty much said what I want out of this offseason, and it's pretty obvious for Wizards fans, is one, we know Bradley Beal's a hell of a player. That's a guy's averaged 30 twice in his career, so you want to get him into a situation where he's going to finally win and contend and do something meaningful with the points he's scoring, right?
Yep.
And for us, for the Wizards, it's just getting to a position to where you're rebuilding. And so when you're looking at a guy who's got a super max deal like Bradley Beal does, he's one of the highest paid players in the game, you're thinking we either get something back that can possibly help us become a playoff contender now, or on the worst side of things, you get a bunch of draft capital to try to start a rebuild. There was no reason as to why you can't, get out of this offseason, and go into perfect rebuild direction. And this is just one part because there's still that Porzingis contract that they can trade if he opts in. But this first one, we go give up Brad Beal for Chris Paul and Landry Shamet. And some second rounders.
Yep, for some second rounders and I guess multiple swap picks if you're interested in that in the future or whatever. But it's just I'm just going to address the elephant in the room because I didn't even think about this until you said it. The fact that you all, because it's your team, you all didn't get Deandre Ayton in that deal is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
It is. It is, and I try to come up with excuses because I was like, well, our options were really limited, which they were. I mean, I think he wasn't gonna go to a team that wasn't Milwaukee or Miami or Phoenix, but I felt like there were so many, like that Heat deal. It was like, I know they weren't budging on Tyler Hero, but it was Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, and some first rounders. I wasn't opposed to that one because at least you're getting some first round picks guaranteed in that deal. And, obviously there's a Milwaukee situation, which could look a little bit better. This one was really wild. Now, it's still not over. You can still flip Chris Paul. You can still trade him. And sometimes when you have trades like this, there's got to be some other side of it. There's a situation where if they don't waive him, whatever the case may be, they can still ship him out somewhere and all of that and still get something back for him, which is still a possibility. So that's why I'm not way too pessimistic about it. You could still move Paul. Depends on what his value right now is as a player. And there's still Porzingis who's making $30 million. So
my thing is with Chris Paul, it's not a lot because what is he making there? $40 million? If I just had to guess straight off my head.
If he ends up getting the situation where he's got that guaranteed contract, he's making $30 million. So you still get a lot for him if you do trade him. Like you said,
it's just the fact
that right now.
It's just the fact that who would take an aging player like that because he's basically become a role player in my eyes. That's what I've seen from him over the last season and a half because it just seems like every time he even does play well in the playoffs, he has a hamstring issue, he has a knee issue, he has a hip. Like he's an old ass man. Like you 38, in your late 30s having hip and knee issues, that tells me all I need to know. Like you're probably just it's father time. You're just getting older.
Yeah, and you would think sometimes for guys it's like his skills deteriorating because he's getting older. Like no, it's just injuries for Chris Paul. When he's out there, he's still a hell of a player and all of this stuff. So it's rough to see. But like I said, we can still flip him and get something. And there's still Porzingis, who we have on the books, who's still making a lot of money. He played 65 games last season. He averaged 20. So this was one of his better career years. His numbers are off the charts. There's still value for Kristaps Porzingis. Where is the question? But I think there's still some value for him. So there's still something we can make out of this. It's just for Washington, it's just about figuring out where you're going from a rebuild standpoint. This one looks ugly right now, but at least we know we're gonna flip Chris Paul. There's a lot of Clippers talk involved right now. So that's its own thing we can come back and talk about later. But there's still some upside to just trying to kick this rebuild off. You know what I mean? Better than what it's looking like right now. You feel what I'm talking about? So
yeah, it's just the thing that this trade, like, I don't know, the Suns, like, they fleeced the Wizards, obviously. Like, I looked at it, I was like, well, they did get some picks, it's second round picks. Well, they did get multiple swap picks, but we don't know if they're willing to swap it. Like, that's what swap picks is like.
Or what it's going to turn into.
You never know what it's going to turn into, over the case may be. I'm like, second round picks?
Yeah.
Really? And then you got Chris Paul, who you might cut and you might buy out?
Yeah.
Like, I don't see Chris Paul wanting to stay there, especially if they can't find another team to trade for him, whatever the case may be. And then you got Landry Shamet, a regular ass player. Yeah. Like, come on. Like, I think they could have got a better deal for sure. Like you mentioned Milwaukee earlier, they could have got a better deal from Golden State and the Heat, in my opinion. Like it was legit toss of Klay Thompson being in that deal if they were to trade for Bradley Beal.
Yeah, like I said, still, I hope we don't get into a situation where we can't trade him, we have to waive him or whatever that looks like. Best case scenario, we trade him, we get some value back. That's just it. You flip a guy like this. The same thing would have happened in the Heat deal if they would have picked up. Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, those first rounders in that deal, you flip Kyle Lowry right after you bring him in. You know what I mean? So it could have been that. So it's not over with just yet. So I'll keep my eye open. Now let's flip this over to Phoenix because I know you want to talk about this. No depth, no real playmakers on that team, and Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant are great players. On paper, this trio looks lethal, but they're injured a lot. Especially Kevin Durant. So what are you looking at? Does this change your mind on Phoenix at all? Like, how high are their finals chances right now based off of this?
I will say, you said those two players in Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal are injury prone. Over the last season and a half and 2 seasons, for some weird reason, Devin Booker's been hurt too.
Yeah,
he had hamstring issues a lot, but I'm not going to give them a 50% or a great chance of making the finals. I'll tell you why, because I saw that depth hurt them in the playoffs. So I don't even care if they get another superstar. You can't always play your superstars if you have 2 or 3 of them, depending on how you look at Bradley Beal. You can't play them the whole game and expect that to prolong for a 7-game series. It's not going to happen. They're going to get tired. They're not aliens.
Yeah.
Like you have to realize you're going to have depth. And until the Phoenix Suns realize that and stop trying to ring chase and just do it the natural way and just, you already got Kevin Durant as it is. Just try to add little pieces here and there. And if you have some draft picks, use there to get in the 2nd or 3rd round. You can get you a shooter or a dude that plays like defense, is a 3-and-D type of player. Like I don't understand why it seems like every team Kevin Durant is on, he just always trying to get somebody else on the team to help him. Like, dude, just play basketball. And this is the argument you were saying with me with LeBron, because LeBron has a bad habit of this. Just let the team build around you. Stop trying to quicken up the process, because that's when you get bitten ass.
You do. And we've seen that kill teams. And who are the last 3 NBA champions, right? So we have Milwaukee, who committed to a rebuild, or not committed to a rebuild, but after drafting Giannis, they committed to building around him and letting him develop. We had the Warriors. That was their natural thing, is let's get Curry and Klay and Draymond in the perfect situation and let's run a hell of a system and all of that stuff. And that worked out. They won multiple championships. And then this year, Denver, who, since Jokic gets there, they get Murray. There are no major superstar free agent signings. They just develop their guys at a high level. That's what the game is right now. You said it, I'm very worried about Phoenix's depth, big time. Now, here's a positive thing: is there's still Deandre Ayton. So very similar to Washington, where we're not happy with the initial. I'm not unhappy with them getting Beal, but we're not fully satisfied with the initial move. There's still Deandre Ayton here who you can still ship. And there are a lot of different situations. He is a guy who has a lot of value as a player right now. There are some situations where you can fill that bench out a little bit, get some pieces back. I have a couple of trades here, and I want you to tell me what you think about it. All right.
Okay.
So what if you go ship him over to Chicago, DeAndre Ayton?
Okay.
And you get back Patrick Williams, who has a ton of upside. I think he's great as a rotation piece. Alex Caruso, Derek Jones Jr., then there's Dalen Terry, and then there's a first round pick. Is that something you look into?
The Patrick Williams and the Alex Caruso swaps would be great, but the Derek Jones is just I don't care about him. But those first 2 players that you named, that's a decent trade. Like they get you, like Caruso can knock some threes down here and there. He'll definitely play defense every night. And Patrick Williams is great. So yeah, that's pretty solid, especially if you can get some picks or whatever for Ayton. Because I still Ayton couldn't even get himself in rhythm with KD, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul being there. Bradley Beal is not a point guard, so he's going to have even more troubles with this lineup, to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And they're still lacking a point guard too. Like that's something they do need. Like
right now, Beal is probably their best playmaker. Like Cameron Payne isn't an awesome playmaker. Like he's good, but he's not a guy I'm relying on to be my starting point guard. And I'm not taking any credit because he was great in a couple of those games in the playoffs, but he's not starting point guard caliber on a team that needs to win a title. I read stuff. Beal's averaged 6 assists over the last couple of years, which is great. But could it be a situation where you're like, one of you guys just let's out of my 3, Devin Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal, one of you guys cool with being a point guard this year? and then they commit to it and they get good at it. Like could it be that type of thing? Like almost LeBron in 2019 or whatever the case may be.
But the thing with LeBron is he's had spurts his whole career he's played where he's had to play point guard. Even in his earlier days with the Cavs, he never had a consistent point guard he could rely on. So sometimes, some games, he would have to play point guard. Yeah. Neither one of those players on that team had to consistently play point guard for one season. Mm-hmm. Never. They probably done it in spurts and had success with it, but doing it in spurts versus a whole season and going to the playoffs is two different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like if you move Ayton to the Mavs, which is still a hot thing, there are some really good rotational, because right now it's just about getting rotational pieces. You're not going to get another star level player. They don't really need another star. It's about getting good rotational pieces. I don't know what they're going to get from a playmaking front from Dallas if they want to ship them over there, but if you bring back some more rotation pieces, like what if Josh Green's included in that deal? I've heard things about Christian Wood possibly. It just fills your lineup up a little bit more. So there's that as well. It doesn't fix your playmaking issues, and it'll be tough because we always say it's tough to find great playmaking point guards that teams want to shop. You feel me? Like it's really tough to find that. Like Chris Paul and James Harden are like two high-level playmakers that could go move to a different team right now. A lot of teams, if they have a great playmaking point guard, they're not going to move from him. I mean, there's Malcolm Brogdon, who Boston's going to move on, but DeAndre Ayton's not going to Boston, so it's kind of tough right now for them. I don't expect them to come out of this offseason. Their best hope is getting more rotational pieces, but this team isn't going to come up with this high-level point guard who can weather the storm. I think they either go with this Cameron Payne thing or Brad Beal and Kevin Durant commit to being point guards this year.
Yeah, and that's interesting you mentioned James Harden, because I remember some James Harden talks. I'm like, damn, these dudes keep, like, they left each other's team. They want to play with each other again. Like, damn, like, you all just left each other, what case may be. So I don't know if James Harden is really going to go anywhere. I don't know. We just have to wait and see. But they definitely need a point guard, because I feel like these teams, especially with Kevin Durant, he just thinks, we can just get a whole bunch of scores on the team. We could just outscore everybody. No, it doesn't work like that. One, you need defense still. So that's the thing. None of those players are known for great defense. They try to hype up KD and act like he's great at defense. He's okay. He's decent. He's not bad or anything. But they don't have a point guard. They don't have depth. Those are three things you definitely need to win a championship.
Yeah. End of the day, that's what it's gonna come down to. I mean, there's Josh Okogie there, but like I said, that's the best you're getting defensively, and you lost a lot by losing Landry Shamet on the defensive end. So
they literally lost Mikal Bridges. That hurt them.
That's a killer. That's a killer.
Now, if he was still there, I'm gonna be honest. People are gonna be like, how does one person change your perception that like much? But that's how good he is. You see, he went to the Nets, and you see he kind of got his own team. He's cold.
Yep. And I don't doubt. Here's what I will say. I don't doubt that if they're healthy, because I think my biggest worry with them isn't just that they've overloaded on scores. It's just the health. It really is the health. That's why I'm so worried about this depth thing. Is these guys are not really healthy play. Like you said it, Devin Booker isn't the healthiest guy. Like Kevin Durant obviously isn't the healthiest guy, and Bradley Beal last season didn't play a ton. You feel me? So that's what your big three, they're very talented, right? Like two of these guys in this big three have averaged 30 points a game in the NBA. That's Kevin Durant and that's Bradley Beal. There's no doubt about their talent. You're just a team where your big three right now has not two out of three of those guys are chronic injury dudes, especially Brad Beal as the last couple of years, and Kevin Durant. Your third guy can get hurt, can miss a stretch of games. And let's say you have to go a stretch without those guys, or maybe two of those guys, which is likely. How many games are you winning, and where do you end in the Western Conference? And now are you going to be in a situation where you've got no home court advantage? You feel me? Like that, all that stuff is gonna stack up with each other.
Yeah, because I don't want to be that person, but I brought that to you all's attention in the playoffs when you all telling me the Suns, look at them, they're like make the finals. I was like, dude, they injury prone. And what happened right on cue 2 weeks later, before the playoffs even started, Kevin Durant slipped with nobody around him in warm-ups.
Yeah. Then
somebody had an imaginary banana or something up there, because I don't know how he slipped.
Yeah.
That's not funny. But I just don't know how that happened. Like, then Chris Paul ended up kind of missing a couple weeks. So it's just like, now the interesting part about it is, if they do find a way to win a ring, out of the two players, you probably would have thought Jason Tatum had a ring before Bradley Beal. How the last few years have gone out. Now, it would be kind of funny if Bradley Beal got a championship before him. But
Let me ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
So I used to have these arguments with y'all all the time because I'm probably one of the biggest Bradley Beal fans you'll find. This is a guy who averaged 30 points a game twice in his career. So let's say Phoenix does come out of this, they win a title. Brad Beal still plays elite. He goes 25 a game through the postseason, which he's capable of. You know what I mean? Has a great finals. Does Bradley Beal become better than Jason Tatum?
I'll say no, because Jason Tatum is the leader of that team, and if they do win a championship, it will be because of Jason Tatum.
True.
If the Suns win a championship, it will still be because of Bradley Beal. But let's be real, probably KD or Devin Booker is going to be their best player.
Yeah.
Now, if you comparing their best player to Jason Tatum, like if you want to debate me, is KD or Devin Booker better? By all means, do that, but not Bradley Beal, who probably he's the third person on that team.
Yeah.
Most likely. Yeah. So it's. I don't know, but Bradley Beal, it is. I remember seeing Bradley Beal. I saw a couple of his high school games actually. Like I remember as a kid going to a couple when he played when Shaman and I played McClure North with BJ Young. You remember the days?
Oh yeah.
I remember that.
Man, that's why I'm such a fan. And you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't want to explain my Wizards fandom again, but at the end of the day, I am glad Beal gets it back into a situation to where Beal hasn't been a national spotlight player in the NBA since 2017, back when the Wizards were really good. You know what I mean? And I think he's averaged 30 points a game twice in his career. He's one of the elite scorers in basketball. He just has not had that exposure he needs. He's been an all-star multiple times. He may have made a couple of All-NBAs. I got to go back and look. This is good for him to kind of get back there, but this team just has to stay. If they stay healthy, then okay. Then they can maybe get away with the depth thing and the lack of playmaking. And just if all three of those guys average over 25 a game or some shit like that, then okay, they're going to be more than fine.
I'm be honest. I don't want to be that guy. They're not staying healthy. They haven't proven me that they can. Especially Kevin Durant. Like, what the hell? No.
Yeah, that's how to be.